Hoe kan het dat we meer informatie tot onze beschikking hebben dan ooit, maar nauwelijks wijzer lijken te zijn? Die vraag stelt internationaal befaamd historicus en bestsellerauteur Yuval Noah Harari in zijn nieuwste boek NEXUS. Een boek dat, zoals we van hem kennen, gaat vanaf de uitvinding van het schrift via de heksenvervolging naar de uitdaging van de kunstmatige intelligentie. En vanwege de vertaling sprak ik hem kort voor de uitzending hier in deze studio. Mr. Harari, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to talk about your book. Because it is about, amongst other things, it is about artificial intelligence. But it has a link with the current war.
Yeah.
In your book, you write about how technology that was initially designed to recognize cute kittens on the internet ultimately was used by the Israeli military for facial recognition in the Palestinians in the occupied territory. And I read that and I thought, do we have a habit of underestimating AI?
I think most people just don't understand yet what AI means. There is a lot of hype and people talk a lot about it, but there is also a lot of confusion. So the most important thing to understand about AI is that this is the first technology in history that can make decisions by itself and that can invent new things by itself. It can learn and change. It's not a tool, it is an agent. You know, every previous technology in history, the printing press, the radio set, the atom bomb, they are tools in our hands. We decide what to do with them. A printing press cannot decide which book to print, and it certainly cannot write a new book. An atom bomb cannot decide which city to bomb, and it certainly cannot invent a new and more powerful kind of bomb. AI can do that. AI can make decisions about what to broadcast and also what to bomb, and it can invent new things, from new bombs to new medicines. And we see it also now in the war, that it has a very important role, AI, in choosing targets, in deciding what to bomb. And you also see it, of course, in surveillance, that for the first time in human history, it is now becoming feasible to create a total surveillance regime, which means a regime that follows everybody all the time. This was, of course, a dream of many dictators in the 20th century and previously, but previously it was just technically impossible. Even in a place like the Soviet Union, the regime could not actually follow each Soviet citizen 24 hours a day because it did not have enough agents. You know, you have 200 million Soviet citizens. Where do you find 200 million KGB agents to follow each person all the day?
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day. Even KGB agents need to sleep.
Yes.
And of course, even if you find lots of agents, they just write reports. Like somebody follows you the whole day, they write a report, you went there, you met that person, you read that book. This is just a piece of paper. To be useful, somebody needs to analyze it.
Yes.
Now imagine KGB headquarters every day being flooded by hundreds of millions of paper reports. They did not have enough analysts to analyze the information. So it was practically impossible to follow everybody all the time. Now it is becoming possible. You don't need human agents to follow people around. You have smartphones and computers and drones and cameras everywhere. And you don't need human analysts to analyze the information. You have AI.
AI never sleeps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so now it's becoming feasible to build total surveillance regimes that completely annihilate human privacy. We see it happening in China. Israel is trying to do that in the occupied Palestinian territories. You see it happening in Iran, for instance, when for years they had the hijab laws that forbid women to go in public without wearing the hijab, but they had difficulty enforcing it because they didn't have enough policemen to put in on every street. Now they have a facial recognition system based on cameras that are spread everywhere, and this is no longer science fiction. This is actually daily occurrence in Tehran or Isfahan, that a woman would go in the street or even drive her car without the hijab, a camera would pick it up, would recognize, oh, this is a woman, she doesn't wear the hijab, identify the woman, and immediately send her an SMS message confiscating her car, or imposing a fine or punishing her in another way.
Yeah.
It doesn't even go through the courts.
So why is it, this is a question you ask in your book, so why is it that we have more information than ever, and on paper we are smarter than ever, yet we seem to invent things that ultimately destroy ourselves?
This is the basic question
Yes.
of the book. If humans are so smart, why are we so stupid and
Yes.
self-destructive? And a lot of mythologies and theologies throughout history said that there was something wrong in human nature. But the answer I give in the book is that the problem is not in our nature, the problem is in our information. If you give good people bad information, they make bad decisions. And unfortunately, what we see through history is that the quality of our information does not improve over time. Modern societies are as susceptible as Stone Age tribes to mass delusion and mass psychosis. And the key thing to understand is that information isn't truth. Most information is fiction and fantasies and lies and so forth.
And that just simply works better with humans, as you write.
It's not that it works
Fiction.
better, it's just that the truth, first of all, is costly.
Yes.
It takes time, effort, money to research and fact check and write a truthful account, whereas fiction is very cheap.
Yes.
Just write anything you want.
But then again, AI, just to play devil's advocate here, it's a computer. If we don't like it, just throw a glass of water over the server.
You can do that to one computer, but we are not talking about a Hollywood science fiction scenario of one big computer trying to take over the world. We are talking about millions and billions of new non-organic agents making decisions and inventing things everywhere.
So that would be a lot of water.
Yeah, they are in the banks, they are in the armies, in the government, in the universities. They are doing a lot of very good things also.
Yeah.
So, I mean, AI has enormous positive potential to provide us the best healthcare in history, the best education. So we will build these systems and rely on them, and then you cannot just shut them down. It's like somebody saying, you know, social media is causing so much trouble, let's just shut it down.
Yeah.
You can't just shut down the whole of social media. That's impossible.
And isn't it also, because this is about tech, but isn't it also about the concentration or the combination of power and tech? If we look at, for instance, Donald Trump and his allegiance with Elon Musk, isn't tech not the problem, but the power concentration?
Yeah, you basically have a very small number of people who now control the most powerful technology in human history. And they're not accountable to anybody. They were not elected by anybody, certainly not by the majority of the humans in the world. But what they're doing and deciding will influence humans everywhere. Again, in many ways, this is really the biggest revolution in history, because we are on the verge of, after thousands of years of living inside human culture, we will increasingly live inside a culture produced by a non-human intelligence. Like for thousands of years, all the books, all the songs, all the theater plays, all the tools, all the religions, financial systems, political ideologies, everything came from the human mind. We could invent various tools, but none of our tools could write a song or invent a new religious mythology. AI can do that. So AI now basically eats the whole of human culture, everything we have produced for thousands of years. AI now eats it and trains on it, and then starts creating new things, which at first will be quite similar to what we produced previously, but will become more and more different. And before even judging, is it good, is it bad, just to understand that in coming decades, we will start to live in a culture which is increasingly the product of a non-human and even a non-organic intelligence.
In the hands of perhaps a few people, as you also write in your book. You yourself have been a guest in Silicon Valley often. You've signed a letter with Elon Musk actually stating that AI needs to be paused temporarily. So what do you tell him? What do you tell Elon Musk? Stop doing this? Are they listening to you?
Personally, they are hearing. Whether they are listening is a different question. But you know, the first question I would ask these people is, please explain to me, how come we have the most sophisticated information technology in human history, and people are losing the ability to talk with each other, to have a rational conversation? Because you're seeing it all over the world. One democracy after the other is destabilizing, it's collapsing. Because democracy in essence is a conversation. Dictatorship is a dictate. One person dictates everything. Democracy is lots of people trying to talk with each other to reach an agreement together. And the conversation is now breaking down. In one country after the other, people can no longer agree on the most basic facts or have a reasoned, rational conversation about the main issues of the day. And in every country you have these specific political and social explanations, but because you see it simultaneously all over the world, it's clear that something is wrong in the technology on which this conversation is based. Because democracy as a conversation is built on top of information technology. For most of history, large-scale democracy was simply impossible. The only examples we have of ancient democracies are small city-states like Athens or even smaller tribes. We have no example of a big country managed democratically because there was just no technical ability to hold a conversation between millions of people. It became possible only in the modern age with first newspapers and then radio and television and so forth. And then you have large-scale democracies. So democracy is built on top of information technology. And now, as we have this major revolution in information technology, first with social media and now with AI, so the structure built on top of it is being destabilized. We feel an earthquake.
Can I just ask you briefly before we have to end our conversation, to people listening to this, sitting on their sofa, just the individual, what can they do? First of all, vote for the right people. Okay, vote.
And organize. And on the individual level, have an information diet.
An information diet?
An information diet, the same way that lots of people have a food diet. Information is the food of the mind. And you need to avoid junk information.
Yes.
And you also, too much information isn't good for you in the same way that too much food isn't good for you. You need more time to digest than to put new stuff in. That's true of food, it's also true of information.
Thank you so much for that advice, an information diet. Thank you so much, Mr. Harari. Thank you. Dit was Buitenhof. Ik wens u nog een hele fijne zondagmiddag.